plant milks out there, how do we even choose? And which one is the tastiest, the healthiest, and the lightest on the environment? Hello everyone, if you're new around here, welcome! I'm Anne, health coach and wellness advocate, and this is Veggie Magnifique, your go-to for holistic wellness and healthy vegan lifestyle. Today we are discussing plant milks, otherwise known as non-dairy milk. So if you're curious which one to get, got milk? Keep watching. So the elephant in the room, or the cow, as it were, is dairy. So why are we even discussing plant milks? Well, because on the whole, dairy is scary. The dairy industry and dairy itself is utterly destructive to the animals, obviously, the environment, and also to our health. Skeptical? Fair enough. Definitely do your own research that's not funded by the Dairy Council. And of course, I'll leave some links below for your own personal investigation. Also, Veggie Magnifique has a very old video on dairy, so I will definitely link that. So since dairy is scary, what do we use? Well, the beauty of this day and age and the free market is that there are so many choices, which is wonderful, but can result in a little bit of overwhelm, like which one do I use and how do I save the bees? Moreover, which one's the healthiest? Which one has the lightest ecological footprint? And of course, which one's the most delicious? Which one tastes the most like milk, the one you're used to, or what you prefer in a milk? So here's my rundown of all or most the plant milks currently on the market. So let's milk it. Remember, these plant milks have upsides and downsides. However, they still beat dairy by a landslide. Let's talk about almond milk. So ecologically, it is not great. It uses a lot of water, second to dairy, and it's apparently not so good for the bees. And if you do drink almond milk, I highly recommend you seek out an organic almond milk because it will have fewer pesticides. So nutritionally it's, pretty good. It's got vitamin E and of course calcium and other things, but it just doesn't have very much protein. Taste-wise, there are a lot of people out there who really enjoy almond milk. I personally find it very almondy. It's not my favorite. However, some people are really into it. It's definitely creamy and has a nice white color to it. In my opinion, it's probably best for smoothies and baking. Next, we have soy milk. So the main downside to soy is just that it's grown in droves in order to feed livestock for the meat and dairy industry, but only a small amount of that is used for direct consumption. And you can always find brands that use non-South American soybeans and organic beans at that. And keep in mind, about 80% of the Amazon deforestation is driven by cattle and livestock. So nutritionally, soy milk is like the best. It has 9 grams of protein per cup for some soy milks, the ones that have the highest soy content. And that is truly amazing. You paleo peeps out there, that is more than a chicken egg. Why is that? Well, because it's a wonderful bean, right? So then it's also low in fat, high in fiber, and has a lot of potassium. So it really packs the punch nutritionally. So for taste, I love it. It's creamy. I didn't always love it because in the beginning, it can taste a little bit chalky to new users, but you get used to it. And certainly some brands are better than others. So I highly recommend, both with soy milk and any other plant milk, that you try different brands to see which one you like, because they do vary. Of course, an added bonus with soy milk is that it is an excellent frother. Just a quick note here, make sure that you get non-GMO soy. That's super important. And another thing, maybe don't use soy with matcha, for example, or a green tea, because it may block some of the beneficial effects of the phytonutrients found in tea. Not for sure, but just to be on the safe side, one thing I will tell you is that dairy milk does, in fact, block the beneficial elements of the phytonutrients. Next up is oat milk. Now, oat milk is probably the superstar in terms of the environmental impact. It's the most sustainable because since oats are generally grown in cooler climates, there's no devastating tales of deforestation. And there doesn't seem to be any massive environmental concerns with the growing oat milk industry at this time, other than farmers spraying monocrops with Roundup. To avoid this, definitely try to find a brand that uses organic oats or a brand that says that they do in fact test for any trace glyphosate in their milk. Nutritionally, oat milk is pretty good, 4 grams of protein per cup, and calcium, of course, and fiber. So taste-wise, It's my favorite. I love it. I love oat milk because it's inherently a little bit sweet, and I find it creamy and delicious. I use it in all of my matcha lattes, and it's my favorite to drink. Just like if I'm making vegan cookies and I want a glass of milk, I'm gonna go for oat. I just find it the best, personally. Next up is rice milk. So ecologically, rice milk isn't that fantastic because it uses a ton of water. And nutritionally, rice milk really just doesn't have much nutrition. It's like a little bit of like ricey water. Taste-wise, here's the thing about rice milk. Like, it was my favorite milk when I switched from cow to non-cow milk because it was so sweet. It's inherently sweet, right? Not because of added sugars, but because it is quite sweet. That being said, I find it really thin nowadays. Like, it's just, like I said, like a ricey water, but a lot of people seem to like it, and I found that it's helpful for people who are, like I said, switching from dairy milk to a non-dairy milk. So for that, I'm grateful for rice milk. But nutritionally and environmentally, it's not the best. Next up is hazelnut milk. So ecologically speaking, hazelnut and other nuts grow on trees. So they help reduce greenhouse gases because they pull carbon from the atmosphere. And so hazelnuts are much better than almonds environmentally speaking because they are apparently pollinated by the wind instead of commercial honeybees. Nutritionally, it's pretty good. It's a nut, so it has some lovely essential fatty acids, fiber, and lots of vitamins. Taste-wise, it's kind of hit or miss. It really depends if you enjoy that kind of almost Nutella-esque creamy nut flavor. It certainly is more of a stronger flavored milk, but if you like that, it could be a great option. Next up is hemp milk. So ecologically, hemp is a solid option because it is a niche crop, so it's more environmentally friendly. Nutritionally, it's a seed, so it's fairly rich in protein, good healthy fats, and quite high in calcium. Taste-wise, it's a bit hempy, though I recommend you try the vanilla hemp version because I found that one to be the most delicious because the vanilla kind of covers the hempiness. That being said, you might totally enjoy it, so definitely try it out because it's a pretty good option. One thing about hemp milk that I do like is that it's very white and creamy. So it's got that kind of like milky look to it. Next up is coconut milk. Ecologically, here's the thing about coconut trees. They only grow in tropical climates, and there's so much global demand for coconut milk that it causes the exploitation of workers and, of course, destruction of rainforests. So it's not the best. To avoid supporting unsustainable practices, I highly recommend you look for coconut products with the fair trade stamp. So nutritionally, the thing about coconut milk is that it's the only plant with saturated fat, which is a little bit bizarre, right? So it is a plant, so it's not like animal saturated fat, but it's still saturated fat, so I would say use sparingly. Taste-wise though, it is creamy, super creamy. It's great for replacing dairy cow cream in, say, whipped cream or frostings or desserts because it's so thick and delicious and luxurious. It's a real treat, right? So I think if you see it as a treat, it's good, right? And there's like the milk kind that's been thinned out, and then there's the canned coconut products, right? So depending on what you're going for, I would opt almost exclusively for the can because I would use it mainly for cooking and for delicacies instead of just drinking the coconut milk because I just don't want that saturated fat. So when I do want something delicious, I go for coconut, but the rest of the time I use a different milk. And another thing, of course, is that it is a strong flavor, right? So some people do not like coconut, so it's not necessarily a please everyone in terms of the creaminess of it. Some people don't like the coconut flavor. Next up is cashew milk. So the thing about cashew milk is that it is primarily grown in 3 countries: Vietnam, India, and the Ivory Coast. So the cashew industry in these countries, in my research, it just isn't really great. It's poverty line wages for workers as well as dangerous working conditions. Nutritionally, it's pretty good. It's got calcium and vitamin E. It just doesn't really have any protein. Taste-wise, I find it pretty neutral. I really enjoy cashew products flavor-wise, right? I feel like they're a great creamification agent, but it is lower in protein. There is an environmental cost. Again, I will reiterate, all of these milks are better than dairy, environmentally, health-wise, and of course, ethically. So honorable mentions, of course, go out to pea milk, which is like a new fad, and macadamia nut milk. However, I haven't tried these milks personally, and so I didn't want to include them because A, they're a bit more niche, and secondly, I couldn't really speak about the flavor of them. So if you have tried these milks, definitely let me and others know down in the comments below so that we can know how you feel about macadamia nut and pea milk. I know pea milk is very rich in protein, and macadamia nut being a nut obviously has some similar properties to the other nut milks, but I would love your feedback on that. So the winner, as you've seen, it's a little bit tricky and complicated to figure it out, but in my opinion, the winners are oat for taste and sustainability, and soy for nutrition and versatility. So here are a few additional tips to keep in mind when buying plant milks. First of all, a good thing to keep in mind, a good rule of thumb, is to look at the ingredient list on a plant milk, right? So if there's 17 ingredients, there's probably a lot of fillers and things you don't necessarily need or want, like sugar. So another thing is that a lot of plant milks have a lot of added sugars in them, which you really don't need. If you're gonna have sugar, eat a proper piece of cake. No need to waste your calories on added sugars for things that don't really need to be that sweet. That being said, if you enjoy sweet milks, you can always buy an unsweetened milk and then add agave or maple to your liking, and then you can avoid white sugar, and you can also have control over how much sweetness that you add. Another thing worthy of note is fortified plant milks, right? So a lot of milk companies will add in B12 and vitamin D, and that's cool. I take my supplements daily, my vitamin B12, my D, and then I eat a lot of beans and greens in order to get my calcium and other things. So I'm fine in terms of supplementation. However, if you're trying to boost it up, why not try a fortified milk, right? If that helps you with your nutrition goals. So my next tip is to mix it up. If you're new to non-cow milk, it might be kind of like, this is a weird flavor, or this one I don't really like the texture of, and you really need to try and experiment with different milks. I even recommend actually that you try literally mixing milks, right? You might enjoy on your cereal half soy and half oat, or you might like almond milk for the flavor, but then you might also really like the white creaminess of hemp milk. So just give it a try and see which ones float your boat, and that might evolve over time. I want to reiterate, of course, that all of these plant milks, though they have their downsides, they're still better than dairy. Now this goes without saying. However, disclaimer that I have to add, these milks are not meant to be baby formulas if sadly you cannot breastfeed. These are just milks, and they're not specifically formulated to be an infant formula. That being said, there are so many cool vegan infant formulas on the market, especially in the United States. There's several, and in France there's even one called Juneo. So if you're in France and you're looking for a vegan formula sans the cow, that is definitely available. But I just had to say, so that people are like, oh, you vegans, you feed rice milk to your babies. No, we don't. But just to cover myself, there you go. So there you have it. I would love to hear from you guys if you agree or disagree on my analysis of all these different plant milks. Of course, this is just my opinion and what I gleaned from my research, but I would love to hear from you. So comment below with your favorite plant milk. It'll be so much fun to see which plant milks come up more often than not. And thank you guys so much for watching and caring about your health and the planet and of course the animals. I'm so grateful for your support, and we are almost to 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, so thank you guys so much for that. And if you haven't subscribed, definitely click the red button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on future content. I've got a lot of great, exciting stuff coming up for you, as well as a new website, which I continue to work on. It takes a while, but I can't wait. I can't wait for that to launch and to share that with you. It's been like a year and a half of work, and I just can't wait for it to come out, so stay tuned for that. If you guys would like to learn more about nutrition and this kind of content interests you, definitely check out IIN, which is an Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It's where I became a health coach. I really enjoyed my studies there because you can do it from wherever you are in the world, and you study over 100 different dietary theories, so it's very, very complete. And at the end of the program, you can become an integrative nutrition health coach, or just know a bunch more about helping your family and your friends and about nutrition. So I will leave a link down in the description box in case you are interested in learning about integrative nutrition. So I will see you guys in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time on Veggie Magnifique.